days of Jesus, the Jewish people believed that there were actually three realms. One, the realm of God, which was heaven. Two, the realm of man, which was earth. And then the realm of the dead, which was below the earth. And they believed actually that the three realms never mixed at all. And so when we come to this particular gospel, we hear Jesus being baptized by John the Baptist. And as there is a recollection of that moment, we see that three things happen. The heavens open, the Spirit of God descends, and the voice of God is spoken. And that actually is a profound moment for the Jewish people, but it's a profound moment for each and every one of us. Parents and grandparents and family, as you have brought these young people for baptism, probably many years ago, but you brought them for baptism. It really was a moment when the heavens were opened for them, very personally. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give them, besides the gift of life that you've given them. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give them. And as the heavens opened, it was the grace of God that was poured down upon them and upon each and every one of us in our baptisms. The love of God poured forth to us. And in that moment, a special relationship really began. And it's a love relationship with our God and with Jesus Christ, his Son, very personally. We become a part of the baptism of Jesus in that moment. We share in the heavens opening and the Spirit of God descending upon Jesus and descending upon each and every one of us in our baptisms. That Spirit of God is still with us. The Spirit of God was with these young people during their search retreat and has spoken to them in many, many different ways. My hope is that you will share with your parents and your grandparents and your brothers and sisters and guardians that special gift that God has given to each of you. All that began in our baptisms, when the water was poured and the words were spoken. I baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In that moment, life was given. God's life, God's love, in a very special way, given to each of you in baptism, but also especially given to them in baptism. In many ways, this retreat has been a celebration of their baptism. It's been an invitation to let them come to touch with the relationship that they have with Jesus Christ, and to let the Spirit of God truly touch their hearts. And then the third thing, of course, that happened in the gospel is we hear those wondrous words, "This is my beloved Son," from God the Father. "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." That's the words that were spoken for your son and daughter when you had them baptized. That's the words that were spoken for each of you and for me. We are God's beloved. We are beloved. He loves us. He's with us. And he's promised to be with us. In fact, that's why he gave us his Son. That's why his Son died on the cross for each and every one of us, to say how much God the Father really, really loves us and cares for us. To our young people, you are beloved, very beloved by God, but by these folks that are right here. Give them a beloved wave. Give them a beloved wave. Parents, you can wave at them, it's okay. Don't worry, give them a beloved wave. Because in the end, that's what we share each day together. And yes, when we're in the trenches together, stuff happens. When we're in the trenches together, sometimes things are said. When we're in the trenches together, sometimes it's very challenging and difficult. And we forget that we are beloved together. That you, as a family, are beloved. Loved by God very personally. And that love of God began in each of our baptisms. The young people, I think, this weekend have gotten a glimpse of that love, and hopefully they will be able to reflect it back to you. I also recognize that I just gave them a talk, and they are super hyped up but tired at the same time. So as they're speaking to you and saying, "I love you, Mommy," that may happen. But given a day or two of rest, I think they'll find themselves and their voice in your life too, to be able to be a witness of His love to you, as you have been a witness of His love to them. They will reflect that love very specially and very personally. During this Eucharist, as we celebrate our baptisms, we'll have a moment to renew our baptism promises, and then also to receive the Easter water again, the water of the resurrection. Because in the end, that's what it's really about. Jesus lived, He had a passion, He had a death, but He says to us, that's not all. That's not the end. The end is life with God in heaven in the resurrection. And so that's what we celebrate, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And that's who we're called to image to one another each and every day. And so for us, as the heavens open during this Eucharist, as the Spirit of God comes upon us during this Eucharist, as we hear God's voice for each and every one of us saying, "You are my beloved Son, you are my beloved daughter," we celebrate the love of Jesus Christ in our lives and recommit ourselves in faith.